Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Mark Janish, your host for Access Media Global's flagship program and podcast, the From the Bench Sports Podcast. This edition of the podcast, recorded on September 7th, 2018, is strictly going to focus on picks for the NFL Week 1, over-unders, and point spreads, and I will give you my brief takes on who will win the Week 1 games. I do not do, for those of you that are new to the podcast, which can be heard on Spotify, which can be heard also on Stitcher Radio and Libsyn as well. Those of you that are new to the podcast, I don't do Thursday games, but I wanted to start off Week 1 on good footing by giving you my picks for Week 1, which is Sunday games, and then, of course, the Monday night games would be the Rams and the Los Angeles Rams and the Oakland Raiders, and the New York Jets with Sam Darnold, the youngest quarterback to start at 21 years, 97 days since the 1970 AFL-NFL merger, which created the NFC and the AFC as we know it today. First game we're going to look at is the homestanding Los Angeles Chargers with Phillip Rivers and hopefully an improved defense facing Kansas City in Week 1. The line is 3. Chargers favored by 3. The over-under is 48. I go ahead and I probably take the under at that point. I take the Chargers. You can give the 3 if you'd like, but I think the Chargers are going to win this game. Pittsburgh at Cleveland. Got to go home and got to go and take the Pittsburgh Steelers, despite the fact that Le'Veon Bell is not going to play in Week 1 for the 4th time in 6 years. The Cleveland Browns, although improved, will probably commit a couple of turnovers. The interception rate and the turnover rate is very high for Cleveland. And, of course, Hugh Jackson has been on the hot seat in Cleveland, despite what you may or may not have heard. I go ahead and I take Pittsburgh on the road. They're favored by 4. The over-under is 44. Go ahead and take the under on this game as well. I have Pittsburgh winning. So the Chargers and Pittsburgh winning at that particular point. Third game of the Sunday slate is at Minnesota. The San Francisco Giants, who I believe will be better. I predicted on my last podcast as I was giving divisional finishes and records for all the NFL on my last podcast, I predicted that San Francisco would be 8-8 on the year ahead of the Seattle Seahawks, who I believe will be finishing at 7-9 and probably not make the playoffs. So I expect Jimmy Garoppolo-led 49ers to be a lot better. This is at Minnesota. 6.5 is the line. Over under 46. Take the over and Minnesota at that particular point. Indianapolis and Cincinnati. Cincinnati is the underdog by 2.5 at Indianapolis. Andrew Luck returns for Indianapolis. First time in a couple of years for him behind center. The over-under is 48. I'd probably go ahead and take the under in this game. I expect Cincinnati to be improved, but once again, I do expect Indianapolis to win at home. Chargers, Steelers, Vikings, and Colts is what I've chosen so far. The next game we're going to look at is Buffalo at Baltimore. Baltimore is 7.5-point favorites, so the over-under is 40.5. I'll probably go ahead and take the over on this. I'm not happy with the point spread at Baltimore being favored by 7.5. I do believe Baltimore will win and take the over in this game. Jacksonville and the Giants. Odell Beckham Jr., a newly minted $65 million guaranteed contract. Jacksonville is favored by 3. Tough defense as it is. The over-under is 43. I'll go ahead and take the over in this game. I probably go ahead and take Jacksonville in this case, despite the fact that it's possible that Eli Manning could be in a process of having a great year. We'll see on that. And, of course, the big battle is from the mouth of the Jacksonville, Florida South. Jalen Ramsey facing OBJ. Obviously, if you heard his comments, very disparaging on most of the great quarterbacks as far as his thoughts given earlier in the preseason through articles. I believe it was GQ who had that information. And he was very disparaging at that particular point. The second year defensive back is very good, but we'll have to see how OBJ handles that, hopefully in a more mature manner than he has handled other situations. But congratulations to Odell Beckham Jr. for getting his $65 million guaranteed. So go ahead and take Jacksonville at this particular point. New Orleans and Tampa Bay. New Orleans is my sleeper in the NFC. Not going to say they're going to win the NFC, but I do definitely pick them within the top 4 or 5, along with Minnesota, Green Bay, and, of course, the Rams at this point to be very, very big players. If Drew Brees can live up for the next 2 years to that $50 million contract he signed, we'll have some great games, great opportunities coming out of New Orleans, especially with Alvin Kamara running the ball for the New Orleans Saints. The New Orleans Saints are favored by 9.5. The over-under is 49.5. I go ahead and take the over in this game, and I probably take New Orleans and the points. This next game is going to be very, very interesting. The New England Patriots are going to face the Houston Texans. This game is at New England. The over-under is 50.5. New England is favored by 6. I go ahead and I believe that because the New England Patriots have lost games 1 of the first 4 games in their schedule, all but one time since 2015, I go ahead and I think this is going to be a sleeper game. I'm excited to see Deshaun Watson return from injury. I do believe Houston, if they can get the proper defense, can override anything Tom Brady does. I believe they do know how to play against each other. 50.5 is the over-under, and New England by 6. I go ahead and take, in the upset, I take Houston over New England in New England, thus getting Tom Brady and Bill Belichick off to a 0-1 start. At Miami, we have Marcus Mariota and the Tennessee Titans. 45 is the over-under at Miami. Basically a pick-em game, but Tennessee's favored by 1 on the road. Go ahead and I take the under in this game. I'm not convinced that Marcus Mariota is the real deal quite yet as far as his performance. He's got to show me some more consistency behind center, among other things. And, of course, I expect Miami to be much improved, believing Ryan Tannehill back at the quarterback helm for Miami. Denver and Seattle. Denver is favored by 3 on the road. That's actually a really good pick. I do believe the Seattle Seahawks will be an anemic 7-9 this year with problems on the defensive side of the football, especially in the backfield. 42.5. I go ahead and I take Denver and the 3, and I take the over at 42.5. The Carolina Panthers and the Dallas Cowboys in Carolina. Nobody's been talking about Cam Newton for a good reason. There's nothing to really talk about regarding Cam Newton, just the fact that he needs to be more accurate when throwing the ball, hopefully. Dallas on the road at Carolina. This is one of the games of the week. CBS has chosen to Fox has chosen to broadcast this game. I go ahead and I take Denver at home, take the over with 42.5. Once again, I believe Seattle will be 7-9. This will be one of their losses on the road. Then in week 2, they face Khalil Mack and the Chicago Bears. So I go ahead and I take once again with Dallas at Carolina. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take Dallas at this point and the over against Carolina on the road. I'm not convinced that Cam Newton is going to be ready to play. I expect him to throw a lot of high balls, a lot of missed receivers, and all those type of things that are going to make it difficult for the Carolina Panthers to win in this case. And, of course, Ezekiel Elliott, if he plays his best, and then Dak Prescott, if he manages the game well, they should win on the road. Washington at Arizona with Sam Bradford at starting quarterback for Arizona. Washington, I'm not sure that they have the quarterback with Alex Smith in Washington. I believe Alex Smith is a great game manager, but I do believe that Sam Bradford, if healthy, will represent well. The over-under is 43.5 at this point in time. I go ahead and take Arizona at home to win with the help of Sam Bradford. A defeat for Washington. And then the night game, Green Bay and Chicago at Green Bay. Newly minted 4-year, $134 million contract man, Aaron Rodgers, facing Mitchell Trubisky, second-year man in Chicago. In Chicago. The game is going to be at Green Bay. 47, I go ahead and take the under in this game because of the weather and possible issues there. Green Bay is favored by 7.5. I think that's a little bit high. I do believe that Green Bay is going to win this game, but I wouldn't give 7.5 points. Monday night, the doubleheader, the game week 1 doubleheader. The Rams are going to be facing Oakland and John Gruden minus Khalil Mack at this particular point in time. The Rams favored by 4 points at home. The over-under is 49.5. Now, remember, we haven't seen Todd Gurley or Jared Goff or the first-team offense do anything in the preseason. We've got a lot of Sean Mannion and all that coming up. So I'm going to go ahead and take the Rams in the night game, 7:20 p.m. Pacific time on ESPN in the United States is when this game will be played and what channel it will be on. I go ahead and take the Rams before. I go ahead and take the over right now at 49.5. And Matthew Stafford and Sam Darnold, 21-year-old, 97 days, youngest quarterback to start since the merger. I go ahead and I take Detroit for the win. I go ahead and probably take the under. Over-under is 45. I take the under in this game, but I do believe Matthew Stafford, if he can complete his passes and is not so erratic with those throws, he will win on Monday night. Well, that should be a wrap-up of the From the Bench podcast NFL Week 1 prediction point spread podcast for Week 1, giving you everything I can give you. Good luck to everyone who's doing fantasy and who's benefited from the knowledge that I've dropped on you regarding Week 1 of the NFL season. You're welcome to go to accessmediaglobal.com. Some of the things up there right now would be the Richard Deitch Sports Media Podcast, Jimmy Traina with the SI Media Podcast, and, of course, the Total Soccer Show, giving you everything that can be given to you regarding the soccer world. Those guys do a great job. New episodes are posted there as well. So enjoy those. And I probably will be back Monday. We'll be talking some Raiders, Rams, Chargers, and Seahawks. Probably review the Chargers games with you over the podcast airwaves. Once again, if you'd like to listen to the podcast, download the podcast, go to Stitcher Radio. Also go to Libsyn, Stitcher, and you're also welcome to go to Spotify if you'd like to download the podcast. Well, that should wrap it up for September 7th, 2018. I'm Mark Janish. You can always follow me on Twitter at Mark at Axis Media, MarkJanisch. Happy you're along to listen around the world and in the United States on this prediction week 1 edition of the From the Bench podcast. Giving you all my NFL predictions for week 1. Good luck, everyone. Take care. Happy you're along. And you have a great weekend. For AxisMediaGlobal.com and the From the Bench Sports NFL podcast for September 7th, 2018, I'm Mark Janisch. Thank you for listening, everyone.